Thanks. So thanks, Kenneth. Kenneth, welcome. Thanks, Marceline. Nice. Good evening, Tony. Thanks, Charles. Okay, so in today's event, we will be having a guest, and he will talk about career or in DevOps. And he's an expert in DevOps. He will take us through his own journey and also advise us more in the career of DevOps. I think we can start. So the agenda of today, first we'll start with an icebreaker, which I will be the one who will be doing. So my name is Mamoon Banakombo. I'm one of the brilliant, amazing team behind DevOps community, the Nairobi DevOps community, and we have been having a successful journey in terms of managing this, and it's because of every one of you who is in the group. Some are in the WhatsApp group, some in the LinkedIn team. So I would like to thank you all, and we are doing a great job, all of us. So the agenda of today, you guys can see the slide, yeah? Perfect, okay. So today's agenda it will be an icebreaker, which I will be the one facilitating it, and I will also present, and we get to know, who will be the speaker today in our career day, and I'll introduce him, and he will take over with the session. Then we will finish with questions. I know there'll be a lot of questions, so we will dedicate a lot of time to answer all the questions. So in our icebreaker, I will be having some questions today. And the first question is, if you had the opportunity to start your career over, what would you do differently? First, you introduce yourself, tell us, if you're working, tell us where do you work, what's your career, and what will you, answer the question. If you had the opportunity to start the career over, what will you do differently? You can raise your hand, or I can just randomly pick someone if it's okay with you guys. But you can just raise up your hand. Anyone who can volunteer? Sam.
Okay, thank you. So I'm Samuel Kadima. I'm a DevOps technical mentor at Moringa School. So if I was to start my career at an early age or earlier over, I think I would have gone straight to what I'm doing right now, rather than maybe trying out many things that I had to try before I got my path. Yeah.
So you would go straight to DevOps.
Yeah.
Perfect. And how did you come to, having interest in DevOps?
So I had interest in the cloud. So at first I used to my phone. I used to download some apps on my phone, and then the space could be depleted. So I remember reaching out to someone and asking them. So that person was actually doing some management for some apps. So I asked him, "Is it possible to how cool would it be if I could just be using my phone while all applications somewhere like in the cloud without having to download them? So if I could just be with any phone that I have, if I could be able to just access the apps I want without having to interfere with the space I have in my phone. So that person told me that is impossible, and that is what, because I thought it was possible. So that gave me it was the catalyst. So it
Nice.
gave me the psych to start looking into the cloud, and that is how I also landed into DevOps.
Perfect. Perfect. That's nice. Thanks a lot, Sam. Anyone else who would like to chip in and say hi? Uh, Eric. Okay, Tony, sorry. Eric, go ahead.
Hi, evening. How are you?
Hi, I'm doing great. How are you? Eric, the question was if you had the opportunity to start your career over, what would you do differently?
I would take certifications very seriously early on.
Okay, nice, nice. We can have someone, one last person, then we go to another question as we move faster. I think I had seen Tony.
Oh, yes. First of all, can you hear me? Well,
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
okay, so I guess I'd try to engage more with, other tech community or groups or even different personalities. Yeah.
Nice, nice. Thanks, Tony.
Mm.
Okay, the second question is, what is one thing that you'd like to change about the world? No superstition, natural things. This time we'd like to welcome a lady. Maybe I can choose. Let me choose one. Marceline.
Hi, team.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. What's the one thing I'd like to change about the world?
Yes.
Um, I'd just like people to be kinder. People are very mean. Yeah, so
Mm,
yeah, so maybe kindness.
be more kind.
Yeah.
Thanks. Thanks. That's very important thing for someone to have in this world right now. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be kind. Charles Charles Come, you can give a try. I think yes, Charles.
Yeah, hello guys, can you hear me?
Hi, Charles. We can hear you.
Yeah. Okay, what I would
What's
like
the
to
one?
change, maybe is to help people to come up with more maybe secure solutions so that you can deal with these data breaches that happen.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Charles. Yeah, security is very essential, and most of the people have been, impacted in terms of data breach, system breach, and the whole security issue. Even physical breach. Someone stealing your phone and other things. So thanks, guys. That was a nice engagement, and I would just like to go to the main thing. And our first, the other slide was, just us getting to know our speaker, who is Ndeva. Ndeva is he's a DevOps engineer currently, and he works at Fin, which is formerly known as Finclusion Group. He has vast experience with over 2 years in DevOps and over 5 years experience as a network engineer. And he will also share, you know, also one thing to include is he has a master's degree in information technology at and a degree, a bachelor's degree. So he will share with us his transitioning from network engineer to DevOps, and also, you know, share with us what it takes to become a DevOps. Also, he will also highlight on the things that you know, the daily things or the job description of a DevOps. Many things that you know, most of us asked even in the last session when we launched the DevOps community. So after that, then we'll go to other slides, but I would like to welcome Mr. Brian to you know, give us the talk and take over the session. Welcome, Brian. Introduce yourself and all the best.
Yeah, thank you, Mamoon, for that introduction. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, we can hear you. We can hear you clearly. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. Yeah, that was a nice introduction. And so, as he said, my name is Brian Ndeva. I'm currently a DevOps engineer at Fin. I think I'll start sharing my screen right now. Then, yeah, part of my introduction is in.
Mine was brief.
No problem. Are you able to view my screen? Hey, yeah.
Yes, we can view your screen.
Sure. So the talk of today is about my journey from network engineer to a DevOps engineer, and it's to give you the DevOps roadmap. Yeah? What you need to do, what you'll do on a daily tasks as a DevOps engineer. And so my agenda for today. So I'll talk about me, my background, mainly from networking. I'll also then go into DevOps and explain what DevOps is. We look at careers within DevOps and also the DevOps roadmap, the tools and the skills that you need to be a DevOps engineer. And also I'll have a brief session on once you're ready to interview for a DevOps role, and then we can have the question and answers session at the end. So about me, as you've said, as Mamuna said, Brian Ndeva. I'm currently a DevOps engineer at Fin. So what is Fin? So Fin is a credit lending organization, and it was formerly known as Finclusion Group, and it's a fintech basically. And what we do, we majorly focus on credit, and so the operations, we have operations in Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa. So for Kenya, it used to be called Trust Grow. In Tanzania, it's Fikia Finance, and in South Africa, our products are Nifty Credit, yeah, Nifty Cover, Smart Advance, EFIN and Medifin for medical. So we've also added one for home loans. It's called, we recently acquired an organization called Tuthukani in South Africa. And we also have operations in Eswatini, in Namibia, and also in Uganda. In Uganda, we have an organization called Awamo, GmbH, which powers microfinance and SACCOs, especially within the mobile money space. Yeah, so those are the organizations under FIN. So our role mainly as of now is to put all this into one umbrella and have is to put everything under one umbrella and have only one organizations offering those products across Africa. And the end goal is to be a neobank. And so about me also, there's my email address, ndevabn@gmail.com. You can shoot me up anything you want to talk about with me. You can find me at LinkedIn at Brian Ndeva, and my GitHub profile is Ndeva, though I haven't worked on it for some time. So if you have any questions, I think you can paste it on chat. Mamoon can have a look at them. Since I'm presenting, I don't have I can't have a look at what's going on the chat. So my background. So my background before was networking. I majorly focused on networking. Before my undergraduate, I studied Bachelor of Science in Telecommunications at Strathmore University, and that led me to take up a network engineering role at an organization called Technology Worldwide. And so my main roles were routing and switching, those layer 2 and layer 3 technologies. What I did on a day-to-day basis, worked with OSPF, BGP, MPLS, VXLAN, VLANs, spanning tree protocols, routers, switches. That's what I used to work on. So around 2019, the issue, we had a client who wanted us to deploy a cloud solution for them. And as part of it, I was brought up to work on the cloud networking part of it, that is on AWS. And that's when I started my journey into cloud. I started working, learning about AWS around 2019 to 2020. I did my first certification, that is the Solutions Architect Associate, in 2020. And I think it's important to note that I failed my first exam. So it's important to note that, because anyone joining this field and taking certifications, these are things you'll go through. You'll fail, and just an encouragement. You can have a retake and pass. So that's my journey into 2019 into early 2020, before COVID. So then COVID came, and Cisco, as a network engineer, Cisco rolled out some new certifications. They always refresh their certifications after a certain period of time. So I did the CCNA, and under it, within it, there was a section on automation, network automation. And I really got interested, and so there and then I started my journey on network automation, and then proceeded to do my CCNP. I did ENCO, which is the core part of CCNP, and another specialization. We have NRC within CCNP. So within this whole time, 2020 to 2021, my mind had picked up network automation as a route that I would like to take on. And so I looked for resources, and the first tool that I studied was Python. I studied Python as a whole. Then into Linux scripting. Linux scripting. Basically, these are the main tools that are used to automate networks at that time. So anybody who's a network engineer amongst us will know that there was this period where network automation was really growing. Cisco even had some certifications called DevNet. So we have DevNet Associate, DevNet Professional, and also, we currently even have a DevNet Expert, which is the same level as a CCIE. And
Hi, Brian. Sorry to cut you off. We are still on the first page of the slideshow. On my, I think, also, Tony, we are still on the first page, or you were on another page? Because on our side we can only see, the first page, network engineer to DevOps.
Okay, so let me see what I can do.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe let me turn off my video for. Is that okay? Maybe we have latency issues with regards to the presentation. Is it okay if I turn off my video? Then
it's okay, Brian. Just turn off the video and share the slides in them.
Sorry for that. Are you able to view now my second slide?
We are still on the first slide. Or you can just present it before just
sure. I don't know what the issue
just
is.
the whole I think you're using okay. Just zoom in and you can go one by one the slides. Yes, it's okay.
I think you can click on slide number 2 on the side
pen. On the left side. Okay.
Yeah,
We can just go manual now.
I don't know what the issue is.
Now we can see.
It's okay. Now we can see. Okay.
That works. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you. Still?
That is fine. We can see now. You're on agenda.
And
you don't need to play. You don't need to play, Brian. Just use the.
Sure.
The same. Yes. Cool.
So I don't know if I'll repeat it again. So my agenda for today, as I said, my agenda for today, first was introduction of myself, my background, and then we'll go into DevOps. Then we look at the careers within DevOps, the roadmap, the tools and the skills that you need to be a DevOps engineer. Then I'll have a session on interviewing for a DevOps role, and also the question and answer session. So yeah, I said about me, a DevOps engineer at Fin. Fin is a fintech. It mainly focuses on credit. We have operations in Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa. Those are our main operations, but we also have operations in Namibia and Eswatini under a company called Getbucks. Then in Uganda, we have a company called Awamo, GmbH, which mainly powers microfinance and SACCOs, especially on how to distribute money for their clients. And as I said, my background, I'm a network engineer by profession. I studied, my undergraduate was Bachelor of Science in Telecommunications from Strathmore University, and which led to me having a role of, after graduation, of a network engineer at a company called Technology Worldwide. And so some of my day-to-day tools at that time as a network engineer involved routing and switching. So I worked on routers and switches and the technologies under them. So we have layer 3 technologies such as OSPF, BGP, MPLS, layer 2 switching technologies such as VXLAN, VLANs, spanning tree protocols. So that's what I worked on. And as I said earlier, in around 2019, I began my journey towards the cloud, and I started with AWS. Then around 2020, the issue of automation came up with the Cisco new certifications, which introduced me to automation. And as I was talking, I was in my last portion of it, which is network automation. So I started off with Python. I learned Python as a whole, and then into Linux and scripting. So we could write scripts for configuring networks using Bash or Python Then later on, I learned Ansible also as a configuration tool for configuring networks. Those were the main tools that we use as network engineers at that point. That's it for me on that. So so what led to the switch to DevOps? As I had said, we began doing automation, but what you'll find is most organizations still use tools that don't support automation on networks. Most don't do automation, and I was over that. At that point, I was over it, and my knack now was network automation, and I started looking for roles for network automation, and there were few. Yeah, there were few to come by, and until around 2021. Yeah, around 2021, when I interviewed at Safaricom for a role that's called a specialist enterprise network programmability, and yeah, I was able to pass that interview, but things happen. I didn't start it. So yeah, so then around last year, I began looking for a DevOps role, and one came up at a startup, and I took it. It deals with smart metering, IoT devices, and I took it. Then also around this year, came Fin. I also interviewed for Fin, and that's where we are today. So basically, what is DevOps? So DevOps is a set of practices that combine software development, where dev comes in, and IT operations, ops. The goal of DevOps is to shorten the system's development lifecycle while delivering high quality software. So DevOps, where does the dev come? Software development, ops, operations. So, operations. Operations basically involves system administrators, network engineers. All these guys are under operations, and the dev are people who create software. So once software is created by the developers, it's given to operations to put it into production. And later on, I'll give you a situation of how it was between DevOps. So that's why it's usually say DevOps is a culture. So DevOps is not a role; it's a culture of streamlining the collaboration between devs and ops, devs and operations. So DevOps is achieved by breaking down the silos between devs and ops, and by automating the processes between them. So let me share this. I think I'll have to enlarge it. So what was it before DevOps? And many organizations still, up to this day, work like this. So we have, you have the business side, and in the middle, you see we have the development, and on the far right, to me, is my right, is you have the operations. So the business side, this could be your CEOs, your manager, your product officers. They come up with the idea, and what they do is they come up with the idea and requirements, and they push it over the wall to developers. So the wall is not physical; it's just an isolation thing. So what they came up with ideas of applications. Let's say you're an organization, and they say, we need this HR software. They send it to developers to develop it, and developers, the devs among themselves, what will they do? They'll plan, they'll develop the software and test them amongst themselves. And then also they finish what they do this, they over the wall, they send it to the operations side of things. And what do operations do to them? They deploy the application, then issues arise. When issues arise, the operations side of things start saying they don't know nothing about the application, so that's on the devs. And the dev says, according to them, everything is perfect. That's an issue within operations. So there was a conflict between the developers and operations, and that's what led to the rise of DevOps, where we could bring in collaboration between the development team and operation team. And on the issue of business sending requirements to dev teams to develop, that was solved by agile practices. So agile practices basically, the developers, operations, all are on the same page from the beginning. They plan ideas from the same page. They test ideas together. So that's how agile processes come into play. So maybe in future you can have a session on agile. We have tools like Jira that assist in agile practices. And so what issues arise with this process as it was before? So it took long to get feedback. So as you can imagine, you get your requirements, you build, you send into production, then that's when an issue arises, or now the management or higher ups can see the app and says, no, that's not what we needed. It goes back. It goes back again. You start building. So it took long to get feedback, and it also had long release periods. Release that developers amongst themselves develop. They could have testers within them who could test, and it took time for an application to go into release or production. And then, as I said, now we are reactive to production issues. You can't capture issues early enough until the app is already deployed into production. So here comes DevOps. So the DevOps cycle mainly remove these silos. It removed these silos, so the operations team and the DevOps team are on the same page. Yeah, so we begin by planning together. We plan the application that's supposed to be built. The devs code it, and it is built, it is tested, and it is taken to release, a release pipeline, and it's then deployed either to production, or later on you'll find out that we have different pipelines where you develop. It can be to quality assurance pipeline, and also maybe a UAT pipeline or a dev pipeline. So in dev is where the developers test the application and see what they developed is what is needed, and at that point they can make changes, and then if they are comfortable with it, then we can now release it to production, or they can be released in parallel, one to development and another to production. Then you operate. So the operations team now operate. They manage the infrastructure through which these applications runs. Then we continuously monitor these applications. In case of any issues, it goes back to planning, code, build, test, and release. So what this essentially does, it breaks down the silos, and it reduces feedback time. You're able to get feedback at every stage, and DevOps bringing an element of automation. You have to automate these processes. Once, let's say, a developer builds a code, it should go to a pipeline that automatically builds it. You don't have to manually build your application, and after that, it triggers the next pipeline, which is testing, and it should automatically test this application, maybe through unit tests or quality tests. And once that test is complete, it meets the set requirements or standards, it automatically triggers the release pipeline, and then it's automatically deployed into production. So that's the main aim of DevOps, to remove the manual processes through which we deploy our applications. So it brings on an element of better collaboration between the devs and the operations, and then faster release speeds, and it also improves the quality of the code or the applications in which you build. And next, so what are the different careers or roles within DevOps? We have the DevOps engineer, and the DevOps engineer main goal is to automate these processes I was showing you here. So a DevOps engineer will mainly deal with CI/CD pipelines and automate its delivery to production. So you'll find DevOps engineer work on platforms such as Kubernetes or Docker in order to deploy applications. So these are the tools that initially came up to support the DevOps processes. Remember, I told you DevOps is a culture; it's not a role. So due to this culture, what came in is we have tools now that that automate, that we need now to, that help us achieve DevOps. And these new tools that came up, neither the developers could handle them or the operations team could handle them. So this led to the role mostly of a DevOps engineer. And then we have the site reliability engineer. So the main role of a site reliability engineer is to develop systems or that are highly scalable and ensure that software or applications are reliable to the end users. Then we have the cloud engineer role. So cloud engineers mainly architect and develop applications for cloud. Then we have release engineers. As I was telling you, we have the release pipeline over here. So release engineers will come in to ensure that we create proper pipelines or tools that will manage, and they will manage the release of these applications into production or quality assurance teams. So then we have platform engineers. So lately there's been a discussion on whether platform engineers is the new DevOps. So is DevOps dead? But no. So platform engineers mainly work on platforms such as Kubernetes. We have service mesh. So they're the ones who work on platforms that will run applications reliably. Then we also have the DevSecOps engineers who mainly deals with security within this whole process. So there's one thing that I didn't mention, and that is the security. As you see, I've added in this diagram. There's red. Is it red or pink or whatever that's added at the top of the pipeline, and it's labeled security. So security is a very important thing for building software and its release. And while we're introducing ourselves, someone said during the icebreaker that if there's anything he will change, was will stop these hacking things. Maybe I'm paraphrasing, but so security is embedded in all this in all this pipeline, in the sense that you embed security while building code. Let's say what measures are you using to ensure that the applications you are building are secure. They can't be, and illegal users can't gain access to them. You embed security while building. So there are things you can practice. There are tools you can add on or practice. So we have SAST, which is static application security testing. This is under the test section. So we have SAST, we have DAST, which is dynamic application security testing, that you can add on. Then you add on security to your release while deploying security, while operating. What security measures are you adding on? While you're also monitoring. Monitoring is also part of security. Are you able to detect if there's a vulnerability within your applications that are in production? So that's where the role of a DevSecOps engineer comes in. So he or she adds security to this pipeline. So there are tools that exist or can be used to enhance this pipeline for the DevOps engineer. So that's the security engineer role. Now, you've probably seen this diagram, and it's on the DevOps roadmap. So these are the tools that you need to know or learn in order to be a DevOps engineer, or as an organization to get yourself if you're practicing DevOps. Sorry. So Number one, we have learn a programming language. So if you want to join DevOps, it's imperative for you to know how software is developed. So, and the main, let me just give a heads up that in blue is what is labeled as very important. In yellow is what is important, and pink is normal. So as you can see in learn a programming language, the one that's put on as a very important language is Python. But maybe I should clarify that as a DevOps engineer, you don't actually build applications. So you don't need to learn programming language to the core. That is, but you need to have a good fundamental understanding of how software is built. So Python is mainly a number one language because of its scripting abilities. So you can use it to automate your processes, but any language can do. Then at number two, we have server administration. So on server administration, you can see Linux is the number one language to learn, and it's put as very important. Then you have Unix and Windows. So applications mainly run on servers, and you'll find out that the most used language or server language or administration language that's used to run software is Linux. All especially with containerization. So Linux is the most used. And it is imperative for you to learn Linux. But there are also applications that will mainly run on Windows, especially .NET applications. So it's also good to have an understanding of Windows. But also due to containerization, you'll find that Windows applications can also run on Linux servers. Then number three, we have network and security. That's a fundamental. Part of DevOps or anything. Even you need to understand security, be it in software, systems administration, and as I say, DevOps. So for network, you'll see the number one tool is the TCP/IP fundamentals, the number one skill, followed by protocols. So we have the DNS protocol, HTTP protocol, FTP protocol, SSL for security. So you'll find out that while deploying applications or anything, let's say even in cloud, you're told that these applications should listen on a certain port, or you have to create rules, firewall rules, be it network security groups rules or ACLs, through which to allow traffic to that application or your server. So networking and security is a fundamental topic in the DevOps world. Then number four, we have servers. We have a web server. Web server is basically what delivers web pages to the end users. So it mainly listens on HTTP. And you've seen Apache and Nginx are the number one tools. Then we have Tomcat and IIS and Jetty. So yeah, so that's on web servers. On caching, we have Redis. Caching is mainly a way to store your data that's mainly that's frequently accessed. So you don't have to go through the whole cycle of maybe of retrieving data, but it can be stored somewhere so that when a user just comes, it's already there and it's easily accessible, and you don't have to go the long route, which will bring on latency issues. So it reduces latency. And also database. As a DevOps engineer, you need to know databases, at least SQL is one of them on SQL, but different organizations use it's their choice. So I'll advise on learning an SQL language, then one SQL. So it's imperative for you to know databases. That's number 4. Then at number 5 now we have infrastructure as code. So this is how to approach infrastructure in a programmable way. And as I said, like for us network engineers before, we used to use the CLI where you manually typed commands. Then now came automation where now you approach the configuration of these tools, be it servers, routers, switches. You approach it as code. And for that, we have infrastructure as code tools. And under infrastructure as code, we have configuration management tools. This help you configure your devices or your end devices like servers and networks. So we have Ansible, which is the most important one. And then we have Puppet, Chef, Slack. And also under infrastructure as code, we have the containers. So containers are a way to package your applications and all its dependencies and to make it portable so they can run anywhere. So for that, Docker is the main or the most important or widely used tool. And then we have container orchestrators. So if you have 2 containers, Docker itself is sufficient, but you find organizations, they run so many containers. And so what's the solution to this? We have an orchestration tool that comes to manage and orchestrate these containers. So maybe you're running tens of containers or hundreds or even thousands of containers. So one of the main tools that's popular is Kubernetes. Then we have OpenShift, then Nomad and Docker Swarm. Docker Swarm is based on Docker, but we find Kubernetes is the most prolific and most used, and it's a mature tool to orchestrate your containers. And after that, now we have infrastructure provisioning tools. So you want to build infrastructure. Let's say and you have an AWS account. You want to build these tools under them. EC2 instances. These are VMs. Your VPC, your network. That's it. What do you use? You'll use a tool, an infrastructure provision tool that says that maybe you tell AWS you need like 10 instances of EC2, and one of the tools that's popular is Terraform, and I'll advise anyone who's seeking to be a DevOps engineer to run Terraform. Terraform is the most popular and widely used tool to provision your infrastructure. And then we have AWS CloudFormation. So CloudFormation is AWS native, so it's built by AWS to support the provisioning of infrastructure within AWS. Azure has Azure templates, and Google has Google Deployment Manager. So that's number 5. At number 6, we have the CI/CD tools. So CI/CD tools help us build applications and test them and deploy them. So continuous integration, continuous deployment, and continuous delivery. The most popular tool is Jenkins. Since it's open source, you can host it yourself and use. So most organizations use Jenkins as a start. Then we have TeamCity. We have Circle CI, which is also really popular. Travis CI was popular, but now not popular anymore. For AWS, we have their code pipeline tool. Google has Code Build. GitLab, we have GitLab CI. We have Bitbucket pipelines for those who use Bitbucket, and we have GitHub Actions. Now, GitHub Actions currently is one of the most popular and the most dynamic CI/CD tool. So, but mainly restricted to Git abusers, though you can use it with other pipelines. So if you use Bitbucket, organizations that use mainly Bitbucket, you find that Circle CI is their preferred choice of CI/CD tool. Then number 7. At number 7, we have the monitoring and logging tools. So once you've deployed your applications, you need to monitor. Yeah, you monitor them for, especially their logs for any. Yeah, you monitor their logs for any issues. So, and how they perform. So you monitor their performance. And some of the most important tool we have Zabbix. Zabbix is an open source tool, though it's mainly used to monitor infrastructure, let's say servers, networks. We also have Prometheus. So Prometheus is a really popular tool to collect metrics, especially within your infrastructure, mostly used within your Kubernetes clusters to collect metrics. That then we have Grafana. Grafana is a visualization tool. So you have collected these metrics. How do you visualize them? So we have Grafana that's mainly used, and it's open source, but we also have a paid version of it. It's called Grafana Cloud, where they can host your data by themselves, and you just pay. We have Datadog. It's also popular right now, and so it's a paid tool. We have New Relic and also the CheckMK. So those are tools that you can use to monitor and visualize your infrastructure. Then you have logging tools. So under logging, we have you have tools like Loki and ELK. So where you collect logs, you can collect logs of your applications. So if it has failed, your application is not running. So what logging tools are mainly used with visualization tools. So you can use Loki as a log aggregation tool and visualize it to a tool like Grafana, which provides a dashboard through which you can have a view of the logs. And number 8, now we have the cloud infrastructure. So this is a very important tool. It's a very important tool or skill to learn. AWS is the most popular cloud infrastructure, and then we have Azure and GCP. So those are the 3 main important cloud infrastructures that are in use. But you can have your self-managed infrastructure, your self-managed cloud, mainly for organizations that run large data centers. We have OpenStack. Then you have Ali Cloud from Alibaba. Then IBM. We also have anyway, those are some of the cloud you learn. So I recommend you learn AWS as a start, or Azure or GCP. So for me, these are the tools that I use on a daily basis. So as a DevOps engineer, so we have Docker, Jenkins, AWS Cloud. We have Amazon ECS, which is a containerization tool. We have Argo CD, which mainly does continuous deployment of your applications into production, or as I said, dev or QA environments. So it automates deployments. Then we have Terraform to provision your infrastructure, Git. We have Fargate. We have EKS. These are things that I use on a daily. We have Bitbucket for us. Bucket. We have Helm, Grafana as a visualization tool, Prometheus. I use Loki, Linux. We have Carpenter, which is used to scale our production environment, and Kubernetes, of course. So, while joining a DevOps career, what are some of the challenges that we face? Number 1, we have too many tools too many tools to learn from, and you can find yourself in a hellhole of learning too many tools, and you can even give up. So that's one of the main challenge. And maybe some of you have looked at the job postings, and you see the postings are like a whole IT department, especially for DevOps. So there's a beam here that I have. No, you can't just ask for so many tools, but you'll find that these tools are what are used on a daily basis. And another challenge is time, especially if you are transitioning into DevOps. Time can be a limiting factor. You have a day job. You don't have time to practice, don't have time to learn. So that could be another challenge. Then you have the issue of costs. So sometimes the resources that you need to learn are expensive, and free tools, free resources are mostly constrained or basic. You'll find there are free resources, but it covers just a portion, and for you to learn more, you need to pay either a boot camp or for a course. So those are some of the challenges that you face while learning or transitioning into DevOps. So these are some of the tools that I'll recommend that tools or skills I recommend that you learn as a DevOps engineer. So the first one is Linux. So Linux is very important, and it's a fundamental tool. So once you learn Linux, everything will be easier, especially in the infrastructure side of things. You'll find that almost everything is built on Linux. It will help you troubleshoot things. So Linux is one of the languages or tools I will recommend that you learn and have skills within it. So under it, you can learn scripting using Shell, Bash. Then number 2, I recommend learn Git and GitHub. Know how Git works and how you commit and push code into a repository such as GitHub, Bitbucket. But GitHub is free, you can use it. So that's what I recommend. Then you need to learn network fundamentals. As I said, networking is everywhere. In cloud, you need to build a VPC, let's say for AWS. Everything you need to configure your CIDR ranges for your IP addresses. So learn network fundamentals. You don't have to learn networking as I did. You don't have to know the routing protocols. No, learn just the fundamentals. No IP addressing. No protocols within it. Know how to configure DNS. How to configure DHCP. So learn those fundamentals. Then infrastructure as code. In the cloud environment, I recommend Terraform, as I'd said. Learn a CI/CD tool that automates the build and delivery of your application. So Jenkins is the most popular one, and it's free. So that's one I recommend. Then cloud, at least learn one cloud environment, be it AWS, Azure, or GCP. Then after that, now you can go into containerization. So you can learn Docker. It's the most popular tool to containerize. Then after that, you then go into Kubernetes as a orchestration tool. So the point of DevOps, understand the whole. Once code is pushed, once code is committed, how do I automate the flow? Developers committed code, has created a pull request. What next? It should automatically go into building or testing. Then from testing, it should go to to delivery or deployment. So know the whole process, so that when you are in an interview and you're asked to describe the whole process or what you work on. So then, so these are some of the resources that you can use to learn DevOps. At number one, we have cloud, where AWS have a free 1 year, a free trial for 1 year, but you'll see some limitations with it. You can only use T2 micro, especially for EC2 instances, so which is only 1 GB of RAM. And GCP have a free tier for 3 months, and they give you a $300 credit. So I recommend you start with GCP. Here you can create at least recommendable VMs, recommendable sized VMs that can help you create. So GCP, Azure also has a credit. I'm not quite sure. I don't remember. Is it $200 or $250? Then there's also Azure has a Cloud Skills Challenge where you receive a free certification. So most of my certifications in Azure, I've utilized it, and there's one that's supposed to begin soon in 8 days or so, or is it 9 days? So have a look at it. You pick one challenge, and then you'll get a free certificate. A free certification with it. So there's the Azure Cloud Skills Challenge. Yeah. Then, so on YouTube, you have a lot of free resources on YouTube. You have Free Code Camp. There's one called School of DevOps. They have a very good course, especially on Docker mastery. So look for School of DevOps. They have a Docker mastery class. We have Tech World with Nana. There are many free tools with regards to YouTube. Then paid courses. We have Udemy. You can buy a course. There are platforms such as Pluralsight and CBT Nuggets, which you can pay monthly and access all the courses that are built within it. And another way to learn is through conferences. So if you're able to attend a conference like the Cloud Native Foundation Conference, CNCF, and KubeCon, we have DockerCon, we have SRECon, but they also have videos of their sessions on YouTube. So you can go to YouTube and watch videos, especially of tools that have been presented. So you can watch the presentations on YouTube. Then another way to learn is boot camps. So Moringa is one here in Kenya, Moringa. You can learn through it. Online, we have the Linux Foundation Bootcamp. Then we have also, guys like Tech World with Nana have a bootcamp. You can go through it. Then we have books. Books are many, but one I'll recommend is Site Reliability Engineering, how Google runs production systems. So you can have a look at it. And now I'll go into a session on interviewing. So you are ready. You've learned all the tools that are necessary and needed. Now you want to start interviewing. So apply to many positions as possible. Interviewing is a way to gauge yourself if you're there yet. So I'll recommend you take as many interviews as possible for the DevOps role, and those were other roles that I was talking about, SRE, cloud engineers. So take as many interviews as possible. So there is to gauge you. You can use them to gauge yourself, especially if you aren't successful. You can know where you stand at. I recommend that you create a GitHub profile and you work on projects. You work on projects and post them on GitHub. And you can also have a portfolio that states all your projects that you've worked on. So this will help you stand out while applying for jobs. You can put it on your CV. So while interviewing or applying for jobs, it's imperative to apply for the correct role. there's this thing that why I told just apply anything is possible. But if you just join DevOps, especially you are from university or college, you have no prior experience, you don't go applying for a senior role. Yeah, it won't happen. So go apply for an entry role. Yeah, maybe if you're switching careers from a software engineer to DevOps, network engineer like me to DevOps, other software test engineers, QA engineers, you can apply for a mid-level role, and you can also, and if you're within DevOps, or also switching careers from a senior role, you can apply for a senior role, a DevOps senior role, staff, principal engineers as you go on. So what do we expect in an interview? Most organizations expect tests. You have codility tests, HackerRank tests, and they vary. For some is data structures and algorithms. So you can have the lead code style questions, but mostly medium or easy questions for DevOps. And depending on the role you apply, on the level, the job level you apply for. So that's what you can expect. For some organizations, minimal organizations, you'll have the lead code style questions. And if you have tests, most organizations will just give you tests that to gauge on your DevOps tools. So you'll have a test on Docker, you write a Docker file, write a Kubernetes manifest deployment file, or write a script that can do certain things. So that's what you can expect on most serious organizations. Yeah. Then so you need to be updated with the latest trends, latest tools. You can be in an interview and ask what's the latest version of Kubernetes. You've stated that you use Jenkins. What's the latest Jenkins version? So what are the trends? This is something that you can be asked in an interview, or you yourself can deliver information of such trends while in an interview. Then curate your CV for specific roles. You don't want to be applying for a cloud engineer and maybe your CV says you are a test engineer. So kindly curate your CV for specific roles you are applying for. Then, so what's the future of DevOps? In my own opinion, I see growth. So I see DevOps growing, and yeah, especially in our region. Even if you've had a look at the trends, mostly, well, there have been layoffs. You'll see, especially in LinkedIn, the most posted jobs are DevOps roles within the IT space. So yeah, as organizations continue to digitize, they seek individuals with these skills, DevOps skills. So what makes me say that I expect growth in DevOps? So we will continue to see increased digitization. So we'll have digitization of mainly manual processes, and organizations will look at how to digitize these things. They'll create apps, they'll create websites. So, and this will lead them, especially startups, to have a high cloud adoption rate, and with high cloud adoption rate, then these opportunities start opening up for cloud engineers, DevOps engineers, SRE engineers, as applications are to run on cloud. You're supposed to build your applications around cloud. There's need for collaboration between devs and operation teams, as we stated, and with that comes need to automate the tools for this, and that's how DevOps engineers come in. And yeah, so that's what leads me to say that in the future I expect DevOps to be growing as a field. I'm a meme guy, so there's this there's this meme that I came across. It says, who said DevOps is stressful? Huh? I'm 22 and I feel perfect. So what you'll encounter is that, as I said, there are too many tools. It's a demanding job, but it's also a fun job. Working with this tool, I think is the most fun job within IT, within tech. So I learned with a quote. So it says, once upon a time, there was what there was, and if nothing had happened, there would be nothing to tell. It's by Charles DeLint. And basically, this says that if we couldn't change how we implement software, how we deploy software, then we'll be probably telling a different story from what we are telling right now. There wouldn't be no DevOps. So then I think we can go to the question and answer session. In case that's it from my end.
Thanks a lot, Brian. We will give chances to everyone to ask question. Maybe you can write it in the chat, or you can raise your hand. We'll give you a chance to ask any question concerning DevOps career. I can start with a question. Okay, I'll give a chance to Maslin first. Maslin.
Hello again. Thank you so much, Brian, for the presentation. From everything that you've said, you didn't say like how long it took you to start out, or maybe I just missed it. I just wanted to know how long it took you for the transition from network engineer to DevOps engineer.
Sure. So for me, it took me around 2 years. Yeah. 2 years of constant learning.
2 years was the learning process, or 2 years was from you quitting your network job to your DevOps job?
Okay, so 2 years, 2 years, 2 years the learning process, and for quitting. So as I explained earlier, I started learning around cloud. I started learning cloud in around 2019, and my first DevOps job role came in 2022. So that's learning, taking 2 years. But also at that point, I'll say I wasn't applying for DevOps roles. I was mainly applying for network automation roles. But seriously applying and transitioning, I'll say around 1 year. So 2 years learning the DevOps tools, especially with regards to automation, everything to Kubernetes. So I'll say learning because I had a job. So time was also a constraint. Then 1 year fully transitioning.
Okay, thank you. And regards to the certifications, in as much as certifications are very relevant and necessary, when applying for them, are they actually very much considered according to your applications or your, during your transition process?
Yeah, applications, certifications are very necessary. They can give you an edge, especially if you are starting out. Certifications are very, 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 very necessary. But now that I'm in DevOps, I can at least show my skills, and for me right now they won't be as much of a necessity. But while transitioning, they are very necessary. They help you stand out from the rest. So if you have a chance to get a certification, I'll highly advise. But also don't be in a certification hellhole where now you want to do all certifications that come around. You see guys, he's doing a Cisco certification, next he's doing a cloud, next he'll do a VMware certification, next he'll do a security certification. So stick to your role, stick to what is necessary. So don't be in a, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Marceline, and thanks, Brian, for answering. So I
So
will go in the comments. Sorry, Brian.
Oh yeah, I was saying I'll have a look at the questions in the chat.
Yes. Let me highlight. So there is one. I'll just go with the first come first serve order. So Abubakar Njumwa is asking, what's the salary range for DevOps position? And I think we can also, take a note in terms of the experienced one, mid-level, high level, and also the startup.
Sure. So I think the salary range for DevOps engineer should be almost similar to what software engineers earn. They could be higher or lower depending depending on the industry or in the industry or organizations. So essentially for an entry level position on, let's say, a tech company, tech-based company, you should be able to see salary ranges of around 100,000. These I'm looking at Kenyan-based tech companies, and then international companies you should be looking at what software engineers earn. So I'll give a website. It's called. You can have a look at the salary ranges in Glassdoor, but for major startups and international companies in Kenya, so you can look at it at levels.fyi. Typed it in the chat. So have a look at levels.fyi, filter through Kenya. You'll see how different organizations pay software engineers. So salary range for DevOps should be around the salary range for software engineers. More if it's a infrastructure-based company, it should be higher. If it's a software-based company, it should be around the same range with software engineers. And startups, I don't know. How do you classify startups, Mamu?
Hello? You can hear me, Brian?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was to say entry level, not startup, sorry.
Sure. Yeah. So that's it for entry level. It varies depending on companies. Yeah.
Okay.
But tech companies will be higher. Yeah. Compared to general companies like, let's say, finance, health.
Perfect. The second question was from Eric Chat. He says, thanks, Brian, very informative. What is the biggest challenge you have faced in the job as a DevOps?
Sure. My biggest challenge. My biggest challenge on the job. So, I think for me, the main challenge is, as you've seen, there are too many tools. So at times it becomes stressful. Too many tools. You're running applications that should be highly available. We've had downtimes, so that's also a challenge. Downtime where applications are down and everyone is on your neck. You need to bring them back up. So, and you can see we are a fintech and it's finance. Anytime we're down, we are losing revenue. And everybody's on your neck, from the CEO to the CTO and everybody. So my main challenge is that the main challenge I've faced is applications going down and you have to troubleshoot and bring them back up. Another, I also have my colleague here. He's called Kenneth. Maybe he will help out.
Yeah. Hi guys. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, Kenneth. Thanks for deciding to also add on this.
Okay. I can just touch on that. Yeah. So the main challenges obviously we face. So as Brian has said, mainly downtime. Yeah. So everybody will be on your neck. So you should be a very, let's say, collaborative, and you should also be, let's say, you should be able to handle people well, because a CEO can come up to you and ask you, yo, this app is down, and what's the issue? So you need to articulate yourself well and explain to him or her where the issue is, because at the end of the day you're dealing with people. You can't get frustrated and say, these people, this is too much pressure, I leave it, I'll leave this work. You can't. So you need to handle people well. Yeah, I would say that's the main challenge, and that's how you counter check that. So you need to talk with people well, the developers as well as the operation, because as Brian said, DevOps, it's like as a DevOps engineer, the middle part. So you need to have a good engagement with the operations team and also the developers. Yeah, so that's what I would say about that. Thanks.
Also, to add on that,
okay.
Many DevOps, many organizations, the DevOps guy deals with everything. He's the operations guy. He or she's the operations guy. He deals with the automation, the CI/CD part. So you'll find yourself as in a stressful position. So you have a lot of tools. So that's what I've experienced before. So you're like the whole IT department. So that's a challenge for startups. They don't have the capacity to hire, and it's understandable. They don't have the capacity to hire everyone. So especially when you move to the cloud, you'll find yourself as the main guy. You deal with cloud, the whole cloud infrastructure. You deal with the delivery of applications. You deal with the Kubernetes stuff. You deal with the Docker stuff. So yeah.
Thanks, Brian and Kenneth. Another question. I hope I'm moving on. Sorry, I don't ask if the question is well answered, but you can always, just add in the comments if the question is not yet answered as per, what you're expecting. You can always, raise a concern in the comment. I can highlight it. Another question was from Valerie Grace. As someone fresh from college, should one start with roles in software engineering or any other IT role before transitioning into DevOps? Because I don't see a lot of junior DevOps roles.
Sure. So as someone fresh out of college, my advice would be to look for internships with regards to DevOps. Yeah, there haven't been many junior DevOps roles per se, and that's how DevOps is structured. So DevOps mainly comes in to automate existing processes. As I said, manual processes. So you find it hard to get junior roles in the sense that you already need to have knowledge on existing processes. So that's why you find many DevOps engineer are transitional from especially systems engineering or software engineering, but but to say the least, you can join DevOps fresh out of college, but the easier route will be to seek an internship within an organization. So and learn the processes within an organization. So then from there, maybe at least you can have something on your CV, or you can be absorbed within that organization. So, but you can also starting as a software engineering is a viable route.
Thanks, Brian. Also, another question was from Tony Kivai, and I think Kenneth and Brian, you can also highlight on this. The question was, how do you keep up with all the changes happening in the field?
Yeah, okay. I can take that, Brian. Yeah. So how do you keep up to all the changes that come up in the field? So I would say, yeah, as you know that this is a learning process. You can't say that you'll always be learning every day. So let's say one thing majorly I always do is reading a lot of articles first thing in the morning. Let's say I will engage Brian. Let's say I'm in the office. The first thing I will just engage Brian and tell him, hey, let's go through this article. There's a new tool that I've seen. Let's say I've seen a new monitoring tool, and let's say we can just go through it and say, oh, is it something that we can engage in our systems? Because ideally, one thing you need to know the trends in the field, because it's something that comes up a lot in interviews, because you might go to an interview and one thing that can set you apart from the other candidates is what do you know? What's something new you know about Kubernetes? Because Kubernetes exists, but all of the candidates also know Kubernetes. But what do you know? What's the new thing about Kubernetes? There's a new version of Kubernetes that has come up. What features have they included in it? So I would say reading articles. There are a lot of articles. I could say, let's say blogs from Medium and Ashnode. And also another thing, attend these conferences, so such as like this, where you just come to talks and hear what people are doing out there. Yeah, I would say majorly that's it. And then obviously practice. You need to practice as long as you're reading articles and all that. I need to practice because you can't say I've read today. I've read about Terraform, but Terraform you need to practice that. That's the skill. You can just get the hands-on skill of Terraform and all that. So practicing is also a core thing. Yeah.
Yeah. To add on that, once you've joined the IT field, there's no relaxing. Be it DevOps, be it software engineering, software development, be it systems, be it network. As I said earlier in my presentation, I was a network engineer. Before we used to work on the CLI. Then automation came. So that's a change. So there's constant change. It started with Python, it started with scripting, then came Ansible. Now you have Terraform. So all these tools that come up are there to help you improve the existing processes. So it's constant learning, especially if you're in the IT field. That's something you've signed up for life until maybe you decide to get out of this industry.
Thanks, Brian and Kenneth. Okay, so into another question. The other question was from Abubakar again. Can DevOps work without the cloud?
Sure. Yeah, DevOps can work without the cloud. Cloud is just how do I say? It's an easier setup. It's an easier setup to begin with. So you'll find most organizations just go the cloud route because let's say you need the initial startup costs are very high. You can't set up a data center. You need networking equipment. You need servers. You need you need yeah, you need a lot of things just to start up. So cloud is the easier route. That's why you find mainly cloud everywhere. But it's just the easier route. But you can manage on your own way. As I said earlier, you have the OpenStack and OpenShift. Those are self-managed stuff within your own servers or your own data centers. So yeah, cloud is just basically a data center in the somewhere else, or just using someone else's server. So it will work out.
Okay, thanks. Guys, any other question you would like to ask? You can raise your hand or you can just chat, write it in the chat. Okay, I guess we've exhausted the questions. Thanks a lot, Brian and Kenneth. I can take it over from now.
Yeah, sure, Mr. President.
Okay. You guys can see on your end?
No. Yeah, we can now see.
Okay, so we are winding up. We are finishing the event, the session. Thanks everyone. I would like to really thank Brian Ndeva for this for just accepting to run this session, providing us with insightful information and help us in our journey, because most of us that in this group either people that are looking into entry level, joining in entry level in DevOps, and most of them also they want to shift from other careers to DevOps. So thanks a lot for helping us in getting the information and learning more on DevOps career. We normally have we'll be having like one session, career advice session, every month, and we'll be sharing in the groups for everyone. And for this to happen, it's because of every one of you who is in the group and who is joining right now. You can help this community by joining us and get in touch with us if you want to run a workshop or a talk on the same topic like career or any other tool of DevOps. By next week, we are looking into having a physical session at Moringa on 20th, which will be on Saturday. We'll be sharing the information in the group and also on LinkedIn and on Twitter. So we look forward for everyone to join, and it's a journey, and we'll all be benefiting from this. So you can connect us with the DevOps professions that have vast experience to talk to us, to teach us on tools of DevOps, by also giving feedback in the group or sending messages, even personal inbox messages to WhatsApp, to me, to also Sam, and to the team. I'll be sharing in the group, the team, the brilliant team that is behind this DevOps community, and also sharing ideas on how to make the community better, sharing our posts as and to other channels and to your colleagues, also documenting activity and organizing events. So if there is anyone who wants to willingly, take over a session, teach us on a tool, you can reach out to me or to Sam or to the team that is behind this group. I will share in the group of WhatsApp the whole team, so you can reach to anyone and ask if you would like to present or facilitate or even connect with other DevOps professionals. And yeah, so this is our social media links. Sorry, the WhatsApp link has been shared in the comment section, and the Twitter handle and the LinkedIn username. So I think if you have any other question before we wind up and we close the session. And also, I just forgot to add, if you are willing to join the team that is behind this Nairobi DevOps community. I've been having people messaging me in WhatsApp. They would like to join. It's an open forum. We would welcome anyone who is willing to work with us and moving this forward. So you can reach out to me, also to Sam and the team, which I'll share in the group, if you want to join us in moving this forward. So thanks. We'll be sharing more events in the group also. We also have a group in LinkedIn. I will share the links and all the names, usernames, and everything in the group. So yeah, welcome all. Thanks for joining. And yeah, if okay, no one. Yeah. Sorry, I thought someone was raising a hand. So if we don't have questions, we'll close and we'll allow everyone to have a good weekend. Bye bye.
Bye. Thanks, Mammon.
Thanks, Daisy. Bye bye.